Well, it's been a while since we've talked here, and since the end of the season, obviously we lost, didn't play our last 2 games, which is unfortunate because I thought we were playing our best ball at the end of the year. But it gave us an opportunity at least to prepare all the way through the chance to play in the bowl game and check out some of our other players. Obviously, we lost some guys coming into the springtime here. This is going, 20 plus years of going into a new spring here for me. And up front, we lost some guys. Chauncey, I think, was a really good player. He's going to have a chance playing the NFL along with Nixon and Heflin, obviously. And, you look at Austin Schulte that played pretty well here as a senior, and Jacobus was another guy that we're really proud to have up front. And then in the linebacker depth, we lost, Nick Neiman, which was a pretty productive player there for us, and obviously Barrett and Wade at safety. And very fortunate in the back end here to, keep everybody here. Matt decided to stay another year. I was thrilled about that. Gives us some leadership back there, and he's kind of been through the routine. He's played a lot of games here and can give a lot of insight to some of the corners that are coming up and some of the other guys in the back end. So very pleased to where we're at. Looking forward to, finishing up. The first 4 days of practice have been really good, I thought, of getting guys out there and getting some work. We'll have some guys I think is having some flexibility and playing different positions. So it's really good. I see a lot of growth in some of the guys in the back end with Castro. I think he's done a really good job there in the last couple of days of practice. And looked at Harris, he's done a good job. And Terry Roberts is another guy that's really stepped up at corner. So the depth is kind of back. I know we got Riley and Hankins back at corner, but with those 2 guys, I think it's really going to be really interesting to see how it all pans out, because you got Dane back there and obviously Merriweather and Jack. And so very pleased where we're at right now. I guess I'll leave that open to questions for you guys right now.
Thanks, Coach. If anyone out there has a question for Phil Parker, please throw your hand up by clicking on the reactions button at the bottom of your screen. First question this afternoon, Coach Parker, is from Scott Docterman.
Hey, Phil, how are you?
I'm doing great. You?
I'm doing well myself. Thanks for asking. I was wondering to know a couple of redshirt freshmen. Y.A. Black got in a few games last year, kind of probably more out of necessity than anything else, but seems to have incredible size. And then Logan Jones as well. Just seemed to break all these weight room records, which is rare for his age. What do you see from those 2, and where do they kind of fit in right now?
Very impressed. Black is going to play. He could probably play outside and inside. Right now, we got put inside as a tackle. I think he's done a really good job. Really mature. It was nice to have him in there last year. He was a little young, but gave him a chance to get out there. Now I think it's really good for him during the spring to take a up row. He's lined up as the number 1 right now, and we're very happy with what direction he's going into. And Logan Jones is a guy that's very powerful and very strong. He's learning the position. There's some good plays the other day in 9-on-7 that I really enjoyed him doing. I say probably a little bit thicker. I don't want to throw this name out there, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of Mitch King as far as taking up some space inside. Really like the way he's going there. Obviously, Zach is back at the defensive end, so we're fortunate there. And Wagoner will probably be at the other end, and then Noah Shannon at our other tackle spot. So very pleased. And some young guys in there. You look at Craig playing defensive end for us. Herkett, I think, is a good guy in there too. So really got some young guys experience. They got a lot of growth, and I think it's really going to – I'm looking forward to the next 4 or 5 practices to see where they're at and before we finish up the last 3 or 4. So we've got some time left.
The next question, Phil, is from Chad Leistico.
Hey, Phil, I just made my post. Phil Parker projects next Mitch King.
Oh, that's beautiful.
What in the back end, one guy you didn't mention was Xavier Williams, and just curious kind of how he came about into the program and what have you seen from him so far, and how does he fit in? Is he a safety or a corner?
Well, good question. At the beginning of the year here, we were trying to think about exactly what was going on with Matt, and didn't know if Matt was going to stay or not. And, you know, I think Xavier was trying to find a place to go. He always wanted to extend his career a little bit after he was done where he was at, graduated, and, you know, piqued up to our interest and said, you know, if we pick him up, it would definitely a good player. Anytime you get a good player to come into your program, it's good. But I think he fits in well with us. We're going to probably play him at corner. With him, he has to understand a little bit of what our terminology is and what we do in our scheme compared to what he was used to. And I know he's played both positions at Northern Iowa, but I think, you know, right now I think he'd be more of a corner for us, and very excited. Well put together, good footwork, and smart kid. Already has his degree, and you know, going for another one.
The next question, Phil, is from Tom Kakert.
Hey, Phil. Sounds like you're pretty high on the potential of the defensive line, but maybe they just need the experience and the reps. Is that a fair assessment of that group right now?
Well, I'm positive. I guess all of them. We haven't talked about the linebackers yet, but I think I'm really excited to see where this group can go. You know, when you lose some guys, impact players like Nixon and Chauncey and half, you know, you sit there and say, hey, you know, who's going to be up the front? You know, we need to stop. Anytime you're going to win with the guys up front. And I think we have a good chance of getting, you know, 8 to 10 of these guys ready. And didn't even mention, you know, you got Logan Lee yet, and Chris Reams is another 2 guys that are just coming off of trying to get back on the field. So, you know, we'll put 10 guys out there, and I got great confidence in Kelvin Bell and Jay Neiman to get those guys where they need to be, so we have a chance to compete in the Big Ten.
Phil, the next question is from Leah Van.
Hi, Phil. I'm Leah. I'm with the Cedar Rapids Gazette. I'm new this year. Your secondary was top of the Big Ten in interceptions and number 5 in passing yards allowed last year. And I'm just wondering, what specific strengths and weaknesses are you looking at for this spring ball, and how to, you know, address those?
Well, you know, every year seems like it's always different challenges. They're trying to add some more depth in the back end. And obviously, as I'm talking about experience of playing, the thing that I think is really going to make is every year you go through here trying to build a team. And like I tell everybody, well, you lost, you know, 7 or 8 guys off the defensive side that were productive players for you. Now, how is the chemistry going to go with that? And that's our biggest thing, is how can we come together as a team and understand each other, the communication to become better. And, you know, obviously, you know, our you could say last year the pressure on up front helped us in the back end, vice versa, whatever. I think everything's involved when you're playing 11 guys on 11 guys. And I think everybody is growing as a team. And that's the best thing. That's the one thing I could say about it right now, is everybody's learning, and it's really good to see.
Coach, the next question is from Grant Becker.
I'm going to keep asking about the defensive line, because there's a lot of intrigue there. And I mean, you mentioned all the guys you lost just from last year, but this is like the 3rd year in a row now that you've lost 3 starters out the defensive line. What's the challenge of reloading that group year after year? And how have you guys made this sustainable despite losing like 9 or 10 major contributors in 3 years?
Well, the one thing is consistent about it is it's been the same system for a long time. And, you know, everybody says we're a developmental program. Even though these kids are not actually, you know, starting in a game or playing in the game, they are getting some reps in practice. We see some growth as they do. Obviously, you know, missing last spring hurt some of these guys, but I think the foundation's always been there. You know, they do a good job. You know, Ray does a great job in the weight room with these guys, and they're all looking and focused on one thing. You know, how can I get better? How can I improve? How can we play as a championship level team? And that's what we're here to do. And I think our guys have all bought in on it. I think the more knowledge they get, the more meeting times you have, the more times you get on the field, the better chances you have to win and be consistent. We like to stay simple as we can, but basically our standards have not changed of what we believe in. And one of them is don't give up explosive plays. And I think we ended up number 1 in the country last year, I think at 1.13 or something per game, because the more explosive plays you give up, the more points you give up. And it's true to the fact over the last 8 years, it's been, dead on exactly. If you give up, 3 explosive plays, that's to me is you're going to give up 28 points. And that's explosive plays, I mean 25 yards or more, whether a run or pass. And we've done a decent job doing it. Our kids understand what we're doing, and that's kind of our standard.
The next question, Coach, from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Phil, in some ways, I think we were robbed a little bit when Mono took Jack Campbell off the field for the first few games because when he was in the game, the last few games, he seemed to really tip it from the plays he made, probably made more impactful plays per snap than anybody else I saw. What's his upside? And then also, where do you see Justin Jacobs fitting? Can he play Leo when you move to Leo sometimes, or is he specifically an inside backer?
Good thing. Let's go back to answer your first question here about Jack Campbell. Obviously, it's a very competitive player. We lost him for the first 2. Doesn't make a difference yet. There's some other things in that game that could have helped us, besides not having him in there. And just talking about, we could have did a little bit better job of coaching the back end. But to say that, I think there's an object for both of these guys over here. You talk about Justin Jacobs playing. I think he can play outside linebacker. I think he can play the will backer. I think we got Campbell. He can play the Mike. I think he can play the will. And Seth Benson, I think he can play the Mike or the will. So right now we're playing them like right and left linebacker, slide them over. I think that we were talking about this today was Justin. He has a lot of ability and he's improving every day. And I'm excited to see where he goes. And, do we play more 40 defense with him in there, or do we play more, sub package in there with our cash? And, time will tell, personnel game to game, and who's the best players to be on the field to help stop your opponents.
The next question, Phil, is from Chad Leistico.
Hey, Phil, I know you didn't get to, unfortunately didn't get to face, Ohio State or, have a bowl game to face another conference or whatever. But obviously, what do you feel like the 4-2-5 and the way you've constructed this defense in the last few years is well suited to kind of push back against these, modern college offenses like an Ohio State, for example? You haven't had a chance to, but in recent years, but just kind of curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it, obviously we're going to play the situations and been more relying on, having that extra defensive back in there when you need them. And I think, with having Dane there, I think he does a good job in there, which allows us to get Merriweather and Jack on the field at the same time. So to me, we're going to play it by personnel. Sometimes all depends what they do. We might have to play a little bit more 40. If I think it's the best players on the team that can help us win, then we'll play more 40 defense. But I think in today's world, everybody's interested in how many points you can score, and to keep everybody in tune and keep watching TV and making sure that the advertisements are getting paid, paid out because they need the excitement. It's hard to play defense nowadays. I'm sure you guys heard the special on Nick, and Nick Saban talking about it the other day, how you got to average, how many points a game they need to average on offense, and what they do, they up their standards to 19 points a game or whatever. But it's a challenge. So I think we've got to keep on working, and you got to, go with the flow of what we're letting these offensive guys do. And it's a lot easier being an offensive guy than a defensive guy.
Phil, the next question is from Leah Van.
Matt Hankins and Gavon Merriweather were kind of the leading voices as far as the racial disparities faced last summer. And I was wondering how you were able to establish trust with them in order for them to be able to return or even feel comfortable returning to the program.
And you said, I heard Kayvon. Who was the other one?
Matt Hankins.
Oh, Matt Hankins. I don't have a problem with either one of them. The way they spoke out, they were giving their opinions. This is what I do when I have relationships with these guys. Obviously, I recruited both of these guys and very involved in both of them and recruited them. And I got to know them, and I think I have a great relationship to them. And I had no problems what they wanted to do and stand out. And, everybody has their way of, what they want to say and how they want to say it. But I didn't have an issue with any of it.
Phil, the next question is from Tom Kakert.
Phil, you mentioned Dane a little bit. This is his first time having spring ball. What kind of progress has he made as a player in the last year or so? And do you see him kind of floating between the safety and the cash again this year?
Yes, I think he's going to be more apt to do both. I got him at strong safety, but if we do put in cash, he drops down there. And I really enjoyed it. It was kind of ironic that you talk about it. I really thought he grew our last practice on playing some zone coverages, and he really made some good plays, and he's starting to see the big picture now a little bit faster. And I know he played there as a freshman, and he played a lot last year at both positions, which I thought maybe put him in a bind of giving him too much on his plate. But he's really enjoyed the challenge, and I think he's really excelling at what he's doing right now.
The next question, Phil, is from Scott Doctorman.
Yeah, Phil, Hooker kind of set the template for what you use at cash, and he was obviously really good at it. Do you see his kind of that type of athletic ability filling that role in the future? I remember last year, I think it was against Purdue, you had Hankins in that role and Brent's out wide. Then you changed in game 2, and Belton kind of seems to fit that Hooker size and speed. Do you see that as kind of the template going forward for what you want out of that cash defender?
Well, Scott, if you were you tapping our meetings today right before this? Because we just had a big discussion on what we're doing about that and how we look about that. And, right now I think Dane it all depends what are you doing with the guy? What are we asking him to do? And sometimes, you get in there, and when we playing Penn State, you got a fast guy in there. Are we asking him to play man-to-man? Or are we asking him to play zone concept and pattern match stuff? And do you need a support guy? Do you need a savvy guy that can come on a blitz? Or do you want to put a corner in there? Like there's multiple guys that we can put in there, and hey, we're going to play man-to-man on this guy strictly, and put somebody like Hankins in there, or Moss in there, or Terry Roberts, for example, or Harris, more of a corner type cover guy, and play more man coverage and play more of our nickel dime package compared to, maybe our cash, zone concepts and first and second down, second and 8 down situations. So, we're still evaluating that, but we're trying to make sure that we get the best guys on the field that's going to help us win.
So you see cash and star kind of differently, just depending on if you've got KJ Hamler in the slot from Penn State versus a second tight end type of thing?
Yeah, I think that's, obviously a way to look at it, and we're still evaluating that. And we like to get the best guys on the field that's going to help us win. And, day to day. And, I just don't want to sit a good player sitting down on the sideline when I think he can help us in there at a different position, maybe, whether it's another linebacker position or whatever. I need to get some guys out there that can help us win.
We've heard a lot from, I apologize for jumping in, but we heard a lot about John Wagoner, about his growth. What do you see from him? And is he going to, I know last year he was going to slide inside. Is he more of an edge guy for you this spring?
Right now he's playing at left end right now. I think we're very pleased with what he's given us. Obviously, we're in the, only fourth practice, going into 5th tomorrow. But he's done a really good job. Really look forward to seeing how he keeps on growing at the position. You're right. We did think about him inside, but right now with Noah inside and Logan Jones inside and Black inside. So I think that gives us some other options to keep him outside right now. So right now, I think we're pretty set on, the 2 deep right now, and maybe we can get the other guys back off for some injury. Probably we'll get them after, in the summertime. So I'm looking forward to us having at least, 10 guys get in there and play.
All right, Coach Parker, I think we're all set here. Thanks for your time this afternoon.
Thank you, guys, and have a good rest of the April, okay?
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to start it off like I normally would a quarterback meeting. How about that? Today in history, you may not know this, you may know it, but in 1970, John Wayne won his first and only Academy Award was presented the Oscar for his role in True Grit. Anyway, the other thing that happened on this day in history, Ken O'Keefe learned how to work out of his basement during the pandemic, and learned how to use Zoom as well. So anyway, those are those are some of the items that we've had to handle. Our world hasn't been much different than anybody else's world. We certainly have had to work around a great many things, like everybody else in society here in 2020. It's been, it was tough on Iowa football, with the pandemic, the racial injustice. We've had, a divisive election, a tough economy, and we had a derecho on the top of all of that, but it's nothing different for anybody else here in state or otherwise. With that in mind, I'd have to say that we're excited about, the 2021, ball club and the prospects. It's great to be back on the field here for spring ball. And, the future of these young guys in our program, I think, is extremely bright. I absolutely love coaching these guys and being around this team. Their attitude, their energy and effort that they bring every day, to practice, and even in the off season, whether it was in the weight room or skills and drills, has just been outstanding. It's been, it's been an absolute joy to watch and a lot of fun for a guy who's been coaching as long as I've been. I think the opportunity we have in front of us now with 4 practices behind us is even greater. We've established a routine on how to develop, the fundamentals that we're looking for as a ball club and certainly as a unit and at our position, that being quarterback. It's important that we take advantage of the next 11 practices and really put a big dent in the fundamental improvement, without a doubt. I think, the schemes will come along, the system will be mastered, as we move through this, teaching process here in spring ball. And, can already see a lot of chemistry being built, a lot of trust developed, amongst the guys on the unit, and a lot of respect, being built as well. Probably even more so, leadership is starting to emerge at every position, both, in the meeting room and on the field. And that's absolutely encouraging and something that, we will take full advantage of. With all that in mind, we still have a long way to go. There's, so much work to be done that, it has to be continually, made simple by focusing on, the things that are right in front of us and not the things that are down the road. At this point, we know what we're doing. What happens here in the next 11 practices and how this plays out will determine a lot of things, going forward into the season. And with that, I guess I'll open it up, for questions.
Thank you, Coach. The first question this afternoon is from Scott Docterman.
Hey, Ken, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Scott?
I'm doing great. I was going to make a pun about carpentry, but nothing would work.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Don't worry. I got a whole list of bad dad jokes I can go to at a moment's notice. So
I figured as much. So I thought we were going to hear one of those. Well, my question is, last year, Spencer, there was kind of a clear dividing line on timing when he threw the ball with inside of 2.5 seconds. It was complete 2/3 of the time. If it was after that, it went down dramatically. What was kind of the reasoning for that? Was that more because he was able to get into a rhythm quicker in that 2.5 second period? And what ways can you help him grow, with 3-4 second type routes that either may develop or he may need to use because of pass rush and stuff like that?
Well, you know, if we're going to use 4 seconds, we're going to have to get a few more people up there in front as far as the offensive line's concerned. You know, we'll have to play maybe with, 12 or 13, but, we'd want to stay away from that length of time for sure. Your question involves a couple of different things, but it's a great question, Scott. Number one, all different phases of our pass game are built off of time. You know, the quick game, has basically a time allotment. The 5-step game, there's a quick 5 game, there's play action, there's a 7-step play action, there's 5-step play action, and there's a 5-step drop back too. So, all of these, got to be measured out and try to build the clock in the quarterback's head so that we can get the ball out of our hands on time. And I think everybody at this point, 2021 for sure knows that, the less you hold on to the ball, the quicker you get it out of your hands, the better chance you have of completing a pass. And you've heard me, I know, talk about it before, especially on timing routes. We'd like the ball to be out of the quarterback's hand and at least a third of the way to the receiver by the time he comes out of his cut, for it to be, where we want it to be in our offense. That's the gold standard, versus zone coverage with timing routes. Man-to-man coverage changes the whole deal to a certain degree, but the quarterback's going to have to use his feet to move through things a little bit quicker. But, a guy like Spencer, and I think, ultimately this is probably where you're headed with your question, with a year under his belt, should be able to see the field, should be able to see what's going on a little bit better, move through his progressions faster, and deliver the ball with a little bit more confidence, than the previous year.
The next question, Ken, is from Chad Leistico.
Hey, Chad.
Hey, Ken. Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
I knew you had a joke in there somewhere. How are you divvying up the reps between your quarterbacks this spring? What's the plan percentage-wise, guys with ones, et cetera? Because obviously there's a lot of interest in more than just Spencer here on the outside.
Well, we're working our way through, 7 on 7 and team. We're trying to, divide it up right now to get a feel for what some of the other guys can do as well. So, we've been splitting it the first 3 practices and changed it up a little bit in the 4th, and probably change it up even a little bit more here in our upcoming practice tomorrow.
Ken, the next question is from Leah Van.
Hi, Ken. I'm Leah. I'm the new reporter for the Cedar Rapids Gazette. It's nice to meet you.
All right, Leah. It's nice to meet you.
And my question is, I think last week, Ferentz was talking about how teams with veteran quarterbacks going into last year kind of had an advantage because, they didn't have spring football. And I was wondering, how does spring football provide an opportunity for you to maybe work with Spencer Petras a little bit more? Like, what are the advantages of having it, and what does he need to work on?
Well, the crazy part about last year is these guys virtually had to train on their own. We could meet with them on the playbook, and, we had a lot of great meetings on Zoom. We even had some guest appearances from Rick Stanzi, Brad Banks, Drew Tate that came on and kind of helped some of the guys out with, some of their experiences. But on the field stuff, they had to do on their own. And one of the problems that you have when they train themselves is you can't be there to correct mistakes, and see what's going on. So if you don't watch out, they'll end up training themselves incorrectly. And, I learned this a long time ago where when I coached in Division III, because the guys all had to go home and work jobs in the summer, and they pay for their loans and do get spending money for the next year. And I would try to develop a manual for those guys to work off of, but I couldn't be there. And so a lot of times when they came back to start preseason, they had trained themselves a little bit, differently than I wanted them to. And I couldn't do anything about it initially because I wasn't there to observe it. So I had to almost start over with some guys. So, that was the number one thing we were working against in the off season. And it showed up a little bit. It showed up a little bit in our preseason. I'm trying to remember which one. And we started one, then stopped, and then started another one. But and then we had to train some stuff out of our guys before we could get back and feel comfortable with what we're doing. And I think probably saw some of that in the first the first couple of ball games.
Coach, the next question is, Coach, the next question is from Tom Kakert.
Hey, Ken.
What's up? How you doing, Tom?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Wanted to ask about Alex Padilla and Deuce Hogan and just kind of what you've seen from them in the last year and what you're hoping to see from them this spring.
Okay, let's start with Alex. Alex has done a nice job. He's got pretty good command of the offense at this particular stage. Operates it well. He's a pretty accurate player. He was very accurate in last year's preseason. Even without spring ball, he did a nice job. And again continues to improve and get better. He's got really good feet. He moves through his progressions really well, and has really done well. Deuce obviously doesn't have the same command of the system at this point, but he's moving forward. He's really improved in that regard. But everything's still pretty fresh out there. As for Alex and Deuce both, the big test for these guys is going to be when they start getting blitzed. So when Phil starts coming after us on a little bit more during these practices, and especially on Saturdays when we scrimmage, that's where these guys will learn a lot about what they know or what they don't know, and how they see things, because every quarterback's going to go through this. Spencer went through it himself, and all the veteran guys that have played here forever understand exactly what I'm talking about. But usually the first tested time for a quarterback is when he gets his first double-A gap blitz and is trying to decide what he's going to do. When he's under center or whether he's in the gun, it doesn't much matter. But he's got to make some pretty quick decisions that are going to result in whether he can get the ball off or not. So, but Alex's ability to see the field and communicate is a little more enhanced than Deuce's is right now. Deuce is really throwing the ball well. He's an accurate passer. He sees the field extremely well. Also, obviously a little bigger than Alex, and that helps him. He's still a work in progress, but he's gaining ground. He's gaining ground.
Coach, our next question is from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Ken. When it comes to kind of third downs, what's the challenge, the extra challenges that quarterbacks go through in completing third down passes versus first down? Is it just simply because the defense generally understands if it's third and mid distance and beyond, then it's going to be a pass? And then how do you help Spencer or another quarterback kind of progress and become more comfortable and be able to go through their reads quicker in that time frame?
Well, I mean, it's all pretty, Captain Obvious, right? We know what's going to happen. The defense knows what we have to do and we know what the defense is going to try to do. And you try to simulate those, simulate those situations in real time with real pressure, so that those guys can train their eyes to see the reads they need to see, to move their feet and their hips and their shoulders through the progressions as quickly as they can, and kind of go from there. Now, some of it obviously you can do in the the meeting room by studying opponent tape, or even our own secondary, but most of it's going to happen on the field, and nothing can replace the speed at which it happens, other than actually live action. And that's the stuff we'll benefit from the most. But I don't know that there's no magic pill that you can take. Third down. It is probably the hardest situation for us to practice against our own defense with, because everybody knows what's going on. Now, we sort of know what they're going to do at times as well, but they, it won't take them more than a couple more practices to know that we have everything installed, and they'll have a pretty good idea what we're going to try to use as well. The advantage maybe that Spencer might have, he could change a play and, or a scheme or a concept, and get us out of a concept that's dead and get us into one that's more all-purpose, or that's specifically can beat a particular coverage. But he might be able to get us into protection that could get a certain blitz picked up. So Alex would be able to do some of that. Deuce is is going to be a ways away from that at this particular point. But that's the advantage again of a year under your belt. Spencer is with only 1 year of playing experience is pretty well advanced, maybe more advanced than any of the quarterbacks that we've had here before in that regard, because of how hard he works at studying our system, studying the defenses, and how fast his mind processes things, during the, from snap to release.
Chad?
Do you see Petrus as having a significant lead, I guess, in the quarterback room right now over Alex, as you progress here through spring?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're only, we're a little bit, we're approaching maybe a third of the way through or something. But the bottom line is, he's got 8 games of experience under his belt, and you're talking about, you automatically end up with an advantage in that particular, in that particular case. And the guy who's doesn't have the experience he's got to prove it basically every rep and every rotation that he jumps in at practice, in order to keep climbing. And Alex, certainly did that last summer during preseason and was challenging, again, and he's going to have to try to continue to do that also. And Deuce is out there competing, the same way. They don't look at themselves as backup quarterbacks. They're looking at themselves as, guys that are starters, and they're competing for the starting job. So, that's how we want them to approach the whole thing. And, Spencer's playing the same way. He knows there aren't any days off, and he needs to keep his foot on the gas in order to stay where he's at.
Coach, we'll take 2 more questions. We'll start with Leah Van.
Yeah, we talked to Spencer yesterday, and obviously his completion percentage is something that he's looking to improve. And I was just wondering, what does he need to do to improve his completion percentage? And also, a lot of fans in response to that completion percentage are wondering if there is a legitimate quarterback competition this offseason.
Well, the number one way to to improve your accuracy overall is to make sure that you're throwing the ball properly. And, fundamentally to us, that means, your feet are in balance, your hips and shoulders are where, you want to throw the ball for the most part. Okay. And when that's not possible, that you're still able to deliver the ball, to the spot that the receiver's in order to get that, get that completed. But, Spencer has already improved in that, that particular, regard. 4 practices in, we can see the improvement there. The timing with the receivers seems to be, coming together. It's going to take a little bit longer, obviously, but he's seeing the play action game pretty good right now. And normally, when something doesn't go quite right, it has something to do with, what he saw possibly, in the beginning of his progression, and then where he was, where the position his body was in when he went to deliver the ball, will really affect, how accurate he is. So, but he's worked hard on all of his fundamentals, starting with his base and all of his drops, to really improve that. And that's critical for us. And we don't want to leave anything out there, no matter how small or how big it may be. We always, in our offense, no matter what the particular concept is, play action or drop back, we always talk about, we want to take our profit. We always start by wanting to take the biggest profit that we can on each and every play until the defense takes that away. And then we move through our progression and go to the next one. And again, I think, part of what we've asked Spencer to do this year too, is to slow his progression down rather than move through things so fast that he'll bypass something from time to time. Slow things down, and that's helping him see things a lot better. Again, I think the second part to your question, Leah, is there a true competition? I would say yes, there is, because everybody's splitting reps. Everybody's everybody's there right now to show us what they're capable of doing. Every throw, and every throw, every incompletion, interception, explosive play, gets recorded and looked at every day. So the body of work is really just beginning here in spring ball.
Okay, Tom Kakert has our final question.
Ken, I wanted to kind of switch gears a little bit and go to recruiting. One of the things you like to do when you're evaluating players is get out and see a kid throw in person, and you haven't been able to do that for a year. How are you going about evaluating quarterback prospects now for 2022 and beyond?
The same way you are. I don't know, have you ever gone out and evaluated one time?
At camps, yeah.
Okay.
But that's about it.
That's, so we, otherwise you're just stuck, we're just stuck watching tape. You try to get some information from people that in that area that may have seen somebody throw, like their throwing coach. You talk to their high school coach, their throwing coach, anybody else that might, that actually might have an idea what these guys, are all about. Might be a coach at a different, on an opposing team that they play against, or even another college coach at a different level that somehow has seen the prospect, throw previously. But I would say that this is, it's pretty difficult to see, or to tell exactly what's going on, in all these situations, because it's, it's just tape at this stage. There's some things you can measure. There's no doubt about it. Productivity is one of them, but most of those guys are already, the no-brainers are already off the board and, already have homes. And, that, and as you know, the quarterback business, even at the NFL level, is, trying to pick your guys can be a little dicey, especially in those top rounds, and every now and then you get lucky with a guy like, Brady, because you underappreciated the man and overlooked his playing career. So, those are things that, we might have to count on.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, and good luck with the rest of spring ball, Coach.
All right, guys, take care of yourselves. So long.
First, I'd like to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to meet and to talk about our program. I would also like to recognize the other members of our strength staff. I have myself as the director, Cody Myers, Cole Helly, Drew Heitland, Ben Morris, and John Engelbrecht are the other members of the staff. They have done an excellent job in assisting and adding to the development of our team. We're also very excited to be, starting up spring football. Prior to spring football, we were in a 8-week training phase where our main focus was developing our strength and our speed. And we feel as though we were successful in doing that. We had to make strides in this area in order to, really take advantage of this phase that we're in as far as our overall team development. It's also significant because that training phase was the first uninterrupted block of training that we've had in the last 11 months. So, we place a great importance on this window of time for the overall development of our team, not just physically, but also in the way that our team interacts, the way they communicate, the way they grow together as a team. And our guys have done an excellent job in all of these areas. In the weight room, our guys have raised the standard for themselves physically. I was thinking about guys like Tyler Linderbaum, Seth Benson, Jack Campbell, Kayvon Merriweather. All these guys have set the tone with their leadership and their approach to training, and that's rubbed off on their teammates. Now, where we're at in terms of our preparation, we have to take the things that we've developed over the last 8 weeks and transfer them to our on-field preparation. And with that, I will open up for any questions you guys might have.
Thank you, Ray. If anyone out there has a question for Ray Braithwaite, please throw your hand up in the reactions button. Ray, the first question this afternoon is from Scott Docterman.
Hi, Ray. How are you?
Hi, Scott. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I wanted to ask you about a redshirt freshman, and I usually don't start like this, but Logan Jones's numbers were literally off the charts. How much strength did he put on, or versus where he came in, and what kind of impact can we see for somebody like that this spring and beyond?
Oh, Logan came in pretty strong. And he's gotten stronger. His numbers were, like you said, pretty impressive for a freshman. And I think he has a great skill set right now, and he's got potential to really be impactful moving forward. He just, like I said before, you just got to take what he's developed this past winter and apply it to the on-field side of things.
Ray, the next question is from Leah Van.
Hi, Ray. I'm Leah. I'm from the Cedar Rapids Gazette. I know that you've stuck around Iowa for around 17 years, but there's not a lot of information about you. And I wanted to know, how you fell into strength coaching in general and how stops at Delaware State and, Florida State have really shaped who you are as a strength coach.
Good question. So I did my undergrad at the University of West Florida. I graduated in 1999. I took a strength conditioning class that I didn't even know being a strength coach was even a thing that you could make a career out of. And that class as an undergrad kind of pointed me in the direction. I originally thought I was going to go into sports medicine, maybe become a athletic trainer. And then I took the class and it kind of opened my eyes to that possibility. And then I went to grad school at Florida State and I interned at Florida State in the weight room. And the strength coach there at the time referred me, brought this opportunity at Iowa to my attention. And I flew up here, interviewed for the position, and I got it. And was here from 02 through the 04 season. And then after the 04 season, I had an opportunity to be the head strength conditioning coach at Delaware State. And that was an awesome opportunity because it gave me a chance to mold the program the way I wanted to mold it and to start from scratch. And had 3 great years there at Delaware State, learned a lot. And when an opportunity presented itself to come back to Iowa, I jumped at it because my first go around was an awesome learning experience. And I love the people here and the people in the program and came back in February of 08, and been here ever since.
Ray, the next question is from Chad Leistico.
Hi, Ray. Great to talk to you. You singled out a couple of guys there at the beginning in your opening statement on identifying leaders. This is kind of your first full year doing this. How do you go about finding leaders? I know that's a huge process for Iowa football. And is the Hawkeye Championship still a thing?
The leaders, to answer the first question, leaders tend to be kind of rise to the top on their own, and the team tends to choose who the leaders are. We help mold the leaders, and the leaders that the team has chosen this year are an excellent group of young men. The Hawkeye Championship is still a thing. It's a player-driven competition, and those leaders make it what it is. And the benefits from doing the Hawkeye Championship only come because through the development of leadership. And when I talk about leaders, I'm just not talking about the guys I listed off, but we want horizontal leadership across the team. We want freshmen up through seniors to hold each other accountable, and that's the only way we're going to really improve and take the next step.
The next question, Ray, is from Tom Kakert.
Hey, Ray. Wanted to ask you, when you take over the more of the leadership role with the strength and conditioning, you probably had your own ideas, some thoughts. What sort of things did maybe you change in the operation, either in the winter conditioning or overall, that were different from what Chris Doyle did?
Good question. The changes I made were more logistical. I think the COVID made us see things differently in the way we were forced to do things differently. And so the way we group guys in the weight room, the way we do some things pre and post workout are different. Like our main principles and the things that really work to develop our guys aren't changing and haven't changed. Those are things that have been proven over time to work. So I didn't see a need to reinvent the wheel. But it's just more minor things that were changed.
Ray, the next question is from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Ray, along those lines, I mean, Iowa's program has had a demonstrated success rate, especially in developing players to go on to the next level, maybe higher than most programs. What have you done, or as far as the Iowa way in the weight room, did you decide to keep it kind of the similar path because of the success rate and development mentally as well as physically?
The things that have led to success for current and former players, I mean, those things are universal across sports, like accountability, self-discipline, showing up on time, being ready to work. I don't think those things are necessarily unique to Iowa football, but we definitely harp on them and hone on those things and value those things and those principles. And those things cannot change, like I said before. And the guys believe in those things, and they want to be held accountable. They want to be pushed in the weight room. And so that's what we're going to continue to do.
Ray, the next question is from Tom Kakert.
Ray, generally over time following this program, you've seen guys that kind of take that leap in the weight room in the winter, and then it starts to translate in the spring on the field, and you kind of, there's a correlation there. What can you think of some guys that maybe kind of took that leap this winter that you think might be in line for a big spring?
Yeah. And we're one thing about the spring is, this is our first spring ball in 2 years, right? So I kind of lose perspective. I remember walking out to practice, our first practice. I'm walking next to Tyler Goodson. I'm like, T Good, okay, you ready to go? Back in spring ball. And looks at me and is like, Coach, this is my first spring ball. I have no idea. I haven't been down this road before. So just guys like that, everyone thinks of him as, going to eventually be a 3-year starter, but even someone that is highly regarded as Tyler Goodson has a ton of room for improvement, just having this window of time to improve on the field. So I think it's across the board. Like this window of time that we didn't have last year, having it this year, I think the amount of growth, potential growth for this team is exponential because we're so young. You go around and ask how many guys have done a spring football. If you got the entire team, probably 60% of the hands would go up. This is their first spring football. And that's that can't be discounted.
Ray, the next question is from Chad Leistico.
Hey again, wanted to go back one more time to the Hush Blackwell investigation. And one of the top line, I think, takeaways in their report was that the program over monitored players to the point they experienced heightened anxiety, et cetera, maintained a culture to allow a small group of coaches to demean players. The over monitoring thing, how have you changed that in the past, whatever it's been, 8 months, 9 months?
Well, as far as over monitoring, one of the things we changed was sleep monitoring. Sleep is valuable, and we educate our guys on the value of sleep and how it's like the most prominent performance enhancing thing you can do in your training. And before, we used to mandate that everybody wore a sleep monitor just to bring awareness to their level of sleep. And now we use it as more of a tool, a resource for guys. So if a guy doesn't want to wear a sleep monitor, he doesn't have to. If an upperclassman says, hey, Coach, I'm struggling with my sleep, can I get a monitor? Yeah, sure. There's a group of guys like freshmen that are new to college and the rigors of studying and time management. We say, okay, we're going to give you the sleep monitor. We prefer you to wear it. This is your first exposure to college and training. Wear it. Like, we can meet on it. It gives us a resource, especially for freshmen that haven't figured out like all the life hacks to being a successful student athlete. We feel it's important for those guys to wear one, and they'll bring stuff to our attention. Hey, Coach, I'm sleeping better this week. Or, hey, Coach, I had to stay up late. I had this, that, the other thing going on. That's why my sleep is going down. So just bringing awareness to that group of guys. I think the guys that need the most help with the adjustment to college life is one thing we've done and changed with the sleep monitoring and the overall monitoring in general.
Ray, the next question is from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Ray, there are all kinds of ways to communicate individually with athletes or with people in general. What's kind of your way of communication? Some strength coaches yell, bring the smoke is what we've heard from former players in this program. How do you communicate? Are you a yeller, or are you a quiet talker? How would you say you communicate with players, whether it's correction-based or just information-based conversations?
Well, obviously, if you're a strength coach in a room with 50 guys and music's playing, or you're on a field and someone's doing something that needs to be corrected from like 50 yards away, you're going to have to yell, right? So I don't think that's a huge deal myself. I would say I ask a lot of questions. I don't ever assume anything or assume that I know what's going on in kids' lives. If I see a guy struggling, I don't automatically chalk it up to a guy not being ready when he comes into the room. I always try to ask questions to find out if there's something underlying that might be causing athlete problems. Like, it may be a maybe a kid was struggling with an injury that he just got. He doesn't want to tell myself or a coach or the trainer, say, hey, I have this injury. I don't want to get held out of practice. I might ask him a question. Hey, what's going on? Like, have you seen the trainer? Or like the example I gave before with schoolwork, some guys are struggling with their academics. And if a guy's having an issue with an assignment or in a class, that can bleed into, they're going to definitely bring it with them onto into the weight room floor on the practice field. And those are just asking questions, I think, lets kids know that you care about them more than what they can do on the football field. And it makes you a better communicator when kids know how much you care.
Ray, the next question is from Leah Van.
I was wondering if there were any learning curves you encountered taking on the leadership role that you have, and if you feel more comfortable in this position, this, being your second year in the role.
I think it definitely helps with having the experience that I had at Delaware State to fall back on. So it wasn't my first time running a program. There's a definite learning curve right out the gate in the summertime, just people wanting access to you or having questions for you. Like when you're the head guy, or when you're not the head guy, you're not typically the first person that they call when there's an issue or a question about something. But when you are, your phone has to be next to you pretty much all the time. I got used to fielding questions at all hours from guys and fielding questions, or guys just wanted to talk about things at off times. So that was probably the biggest adjustment, is accessibility, making myself accessible. Not that I didn't make myself accessible before, but guys knew that I was the main cog of communication. And so that was a big adjustment, but that was an easy one to handle.
Ray, we'll take two more questions. The first one is from Tom Kakert.
Ray, I was wondering, Ivory Kelly Martin had knee surgery at the end of the year in December. Where is he at in your rehab process? Is he, on track to be ready to go for the fall?
Yeah, Tom, I'm not gonna go into any type of any injury reports or questions or talk about rehab progressions. I'll leave that to the head man.
Ray, the final question this afternoon is from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Ray, I know that in the past, every time a new athlete comes in, you'd put them through the department put them through a battery of about 10 tests to check on, symmetry and left, right, that sort of thing. Do you still do those types of things now when athletes come in?
Yes, absolutely. It's imperative to do those things, to evaluate athletes when they come into the program. It just makes sense. We always take our guys through a functional movement screens to see how their body works. Everyone that comes to us has a different training maturity, different physical maturity, different set of parents, the genetic differences. And so it's on us to identify any type of asymmetries in their body, any type of movement deficiencies that they have. That way we can address them before they become problems down the line. So that's a part of what we do. That's not going to go away.